Hello, Paul Scheele.
Pete Bissonette, good to be with you again. Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Good morning. And welcome everyone to the first or the final full day of the MINDTRX challenge. I'm glad you're all with us. So, hey, Paul, we had a wonderful week with thousands of people listening to Paraliminals and hundreds leaving messages and sharing their experiences. And we're going to go through some of those yet in the session here. Any comments for everybody?
Oh, absolutely. The thing that I have always felt is so important for any learner is to have a community of learners, like-minded people, all striving for something because we learn so much from each other. We're exploring, we're recognizing the great potential of the mind. Congratulations and thanks for being a part of the challenge.
So, Paul, what advice do you have for people who are working on their lives using the paraliminals?
Well, obviously, I'll have lots of advice. You might have to stop
Hours and
me
hours of
somewhere.
doing that. Okay, good point.
Right. So the idea, first of all, is that who we are is two separate minds. We have a conscious mind, which is pretty limited, and we have a non-conscious mind or an inner mind, which is so vast, so capable, so powerful. And it's the conscious mind that sets a goal, but it's the other than conscious. It's that more than conscious mind. It's that inner mind that really finds the best ways and means to attain that goal. So sometimes what happens is we'll set a goal and we'll immediately expect fireworks and celebrations and, oh my gosh, you achieve it immediately. And I listened to a paraliminal to make that happen, and then it hasn't instantly been achieved. And people sometimes think, well, how come this didn't do it? But what we're doing is we're shifting the way the inner mind is able to get where you want to go. So you might listen to a paraliminal once and get the result you want. You might listen to it 2 or 3 times in order to get the result. Sometimes, you'll read about it, might say, do it for a week. What's going on there is depending upon your personal history, your inner blocks, your limitations, how much negative information you're bombarding yourself with on a regular basis, that's going to determine the degree to which your non-conscious mind is saying, wait, so you're serious about it this time, huh? Okay, so you want me to find the best ways? I mean, you're not going to talk me out of it this time, are you? And that way we can actually move more effectively because the changes are changes that are coming from within. It's not like we're pushing you to your goal. It's you're expanding your internal choices to be able to realize a goal that you might not have been able to attain up until now.
And that's a good reason too to keep listening to paraliminals after the challenge. It's
Oh,
because you want to keep moving it forward. Well,
absolutely.
over the week, quite a few people were talking about the favorite paraliminal. This became the new favorite paraliminal. Do you have favorite paraliminals yourself?
Yes. Can I say all of them? But I mean, every one that I ever listened to after having produced it, I think, oh, this is the best paraliminal. And if you ever watch any of my films, I'm so glad that I can talk about this paraliminal. I love this paraliminal. And then I realized, wait, I'm always saying that when I'm talking about the paraliminals. So yes, the true answer is I do have a few go-to favorites. Historically, it's been the prosperity paraliminal because no matter what area of my life I might be working on, prosperity puts me in touch with the abundant resources that will help me get it. It might be for time, it might be for energy, it might be for health, it might be for finances, it might be for connections, working with other people, creative ideas, whatever it might be. So prosperity to me is a real good one, super juicy, absolutely love it, use it quite a bit. Another one which is a go-to for me is the 10-minute supercharger. And the main reason that I use the 10-minute supercharger is I love a power nap during the day. And it was originally designed to just be in a cassette tape in your top desk drawer, put your phone on do not disturb, put on your earbuds or your headphones, I guess at that time, and listen to the cassette. Remember back in those days? But it's really designed to give us a restart, a recharge, a revitalization. And the experience is one of an additional 45 minutes to an hour and a half of usable energy during the day. So it's really a powerful thing. And, oftentimes, Pete, I've thought we should do the 30-minute supercharger or the 40-minute supercharger because it feels so good. And of course, if I really feel I need a second listen to, I'll do that. And then the other one I would say is on any given day, a different paraliminal would come to me because of what's going on. So remember, Pete, there's two ways we would listen to a paraliminal. One is because we have a specific thing that we're trying to get to, and we need a specific resource. Like I need to overcome procrastination, or I need to get going, or I need to have confidence when I speak to a group, or I need to be able to be effective at remembering what is going to be happening in the day. So I would listen to a paraliminal for that particular reason. So on any given day, you name it. I'm going into an important meeting, getting on stage to present to a large group. It might be talking to win. It might be sales leap, where I can focus in. I might listen to active listening because I'm going into a meeting with some contentious individuals that I'm going to have to work with. Well, active listening is the perfect one. So I would love to say that, I could limit it to 3, but Pete, it's like at the end of the MINDTRX podcast, I want to give so many paraliminals that you could listen to help. And you kind of your finger and said, Paul, can you maybe talk about one or two?
First couple podcasts, Paul, you had listed like 15 paraliminals. And it's like, what?
Well, because they're all so great for them.
And they all work toward everything. So that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Paul, you mentioned cassette tapes. So a couple of things that I really liked. One of them was when someone would call or they'd come in to get a new tape because they wore out the tape that they had. Those cassette tapes didn't last. Or remember the couple folks that sent in cassette tapes because they had left them on the dashboard of the car and they melted.
Yes. And we thought, we should do a paraliminal for how to melt things with your mind.
Yeah, mind melt. The mind melt, I think, is what we're going to call it.
Yeah, the thing that I haven't talked about really, Pete, are the general feel good. Anyway, what I wanted to say is there's two ways we listen. We listen because we have a specific. The other is we listen just for general well-being. And I would choose joy or gratitude or euphoria for this just general well-being paraliminals when I want to sit back, relax, clear my mind, get ready for the next project. Those are really go-tos for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned rediscovering paraliminals. That's one thing that we've heard from a lot of our longtime customers who have the whole library of paraliminals, is that when the paraliminal of the day comes up, they'll listen to it as one that they haven't listened to in a long time or haven't used, and they're saying, "Oh my goodness, this really is a good paraliminal." So that's one of the things I love about that paraliminal of the day feature that we have.
Yeah, I think it's essential that you give yourself a tour of all of them. Find a reason to listen to any and all of them. Ideal weight, even smoke-free, which is kind of an interesting one. Why would you listen to smoke-free if you're not a smoker, right? But there are ideas that will generate in you of realizing, well, there are some habits that I do have that probably get in the way. Perfect. Listen to take a tour. A grand tour.
Well, that's what the paraliminal accelerator does, because it brings you come up with your goal and it brings you through listening to not all of the paraliminals, but like 50 of them in 40 days. So why should someone use a paraliminal accelerator besides being able to cycle through the different paraliminals? What's the magic behind it?
Well, the magic in the paraliminal accelerator is we're looking for a transformation. So the notion of 40 days and 40 nights as being an historical ancient wisdom tradition approach to making a personal transformation in our lives. So what we've done is we said, take one goal, put it in the center, and listen in 4 units of 10 listening sessions. So there's cycles in which We're really establishing a clear intent. We're clearing the way. We're having persistent endeavoring and consistent achievement. So the idea of keeping one thing front and center over 40 days is such a powerful way to break through. And the fact that it's a part of the MINDTRX app, I think, is so cool. It used to be a separate purchase everybody would have to make.
Yeah. And if you haven't done it yet, I would absolutely do it. It's 40 days that you stay focused. You know, one of the things that happens in those 40 days that really does have momentum. And after the 40 days, you keep listening to the paraliminals because it becomes a useful habit for you. Hey, so Paul, you mentioned that you'd kind of like a 40-minute feel-good paraliminal. Is there another paraliminal that you've been kind of thinking we should have because you'd kind of like to use it yourself?
Yes, the big one, I think, is compassion. I've proposed that to you on a couple of occasions because there's so much interesting neuroscience research on the power of self-compassion. Certainly compassion for others and with others is important, but one of the most powerful motivation tools to get us to do what it is we need to do today is self-compassion, not beating ourselves up and trying to push ourselves to where we're going. Now, I think self-love is a big step in that direction. And that's kind of a healing exercise where we're really working with our inner child and our inner elder to bring about this sense of wholeness and personal connection to all my resourcefulness. Compassion is just a little bit different. You know that this idea of heart math being connecting to the wisdom of the heart, and the Buddhist tradition of compassion goes back centuries, thousands of years. And that is now being researched and discovering, where humanity's rediscovering the real power of it. So I think that's going to be a new one soon.
Yeah, cool. So, you know, we're going to start producing paraliminals again for the app, and how we're going to be choosing the titles. Now, we have a list now of like 100, 150 paraliminals that we'd like to do. But on the bottom of the home screen of the app, there's that search function. So the app records all the searches as a grouping, and we're going to be looking at to see what people are searching for and what we don't have paraliminals for. So one of them, we have a lot of people searching for grief. So we'll be creating a grief paraliminal. And so when you're looking at, we don't know who's searching for what, but we just know what folks are looking for. So those are going to be coming out this next year. That's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, that is. And, you know, one of the comments that a person wrote in today, I'll be talking about in a little bit, is about the idea of grief. So I think it is important. Yeah.
So, Paul, one of the questions that we get often is, how do you know that a paraliminal is working for you? So some people will know immediately because they'll have that sense, or they'll see something happen in the day, or somebody will notice something. But when you're not noticing improvements or changes, how do you know they're working?
I think there's a couple of ways. Certainly, anyone who has a lifestyle of including meditation or has a good rapport or dialogue with the resources of their inner mind, they know right away. Immediately upon listening, they feel that wave of relaxation occurring within them, and they say, oh, this is good. And there's a resonance. You know, very often people will say to me, Paul, when I listen to a paraliminal, it sounds like you're speaking to me personally, directly. And I want you to know that that was the intent. I am imagining an individual listening to the words I'm speaking. I'm speaking to your conscious mind and your non-conscious mind very intently. So if you get that feeling of resonance, spot on. Another way that people notice right away is they'll hear, this is Paul Scheele, and they're asleep. Yeah. But they wake up at the end when I'm inviting them to be wide awake, alert, refreshed, and they think, well, Could I have heard anything? I must have been asleep the whole time. And the truth is, because I was speaking to your non-conscious mind, that part of you that's below the threshold of your conscious awareness, that part of you which is really making the changes inside, your conscious mind is invited to just wander off. So doesn't even have to participate. You could stop and try to listen and hear everything that's being said, but you don't need to be. So the fact that they're coming to and really being alert at the end, that's another really good sign. And I'd say the other sign is that there is a sense of additional calm about the goal that they're working on. So even though they might not have achieved the goal that they've set their mind to and they're listening to the paraliminal for that, the fact that I don't feel a resistance to it anymore. I don't feel like I've got blocks or barriers. I feel like I can take a step in that direction today. And that sense of calm, or that sense of knowing, as one of my clients say, a relentless knowing that this is something that's going to occur. There's a positive expectancy that you have. That's a really good indicator that it's working for you.
Excellent. So, Paul, you mentioned listening to the paraliminals and that people will feel like that you're talking to them. What's it like when you listen to a paraliminal and you're talking to yourself?
Oh, man, I absolutely, totally love it, because what happens is, when we're in the studio, we do all kinds of really cool, magical things to have the voice appear in different regions and move and, go to your inner mind most effectively. And in developing those, what I call digital effects, what happens is something quite remarkable, Pete. When I listen to it, I hear my voice in the place where I hear my internal dialogue.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't it? It's as if I've got my internal dialogue going and I'm not having to generate it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's something a little bit strange, but it also really helped me understand that the idea that the voice appears within your mind to help guide you to where you want to go, that was always the intent. And that's what we were able to produce with the studio that we work with.
Yeah, very cool. So one of the features that we're going to be adding to MINDTRX, hopefully this coming year, but it's a really complex feature, will be customized paraliminals. So that when you're listening to a paraliminal, you'll hear your voice as another voice going right down the middle. And so that's going to be really cool. We started playing with it a few years ago, and the people loved it. Now, because of technology, we can just have a part of the app. So I don't know which paraliminal we're going to do it on first, but hopefully by the end of next year, we're going to have it ready for everyone. That way you can experience your own voice in your head.
It's so great. And the idea is that we really do talk to ourselves. And part of the thing that we would love everyone to have as a result of being a user of paraliminal technology is a shift in the way they regard themselves. I was talking about the concept of compassion towards yourself. And very often, the voices in our head are the critical parent voices that were trying to whip us into submission and do the work we're supposed to do. And we just continue beating ourselves up that way. When that ceases, when we start to regard ourselves in a much more positive and loving way, the changes are absolutely stunning.
Excellent. So in a moment, let's read some of the stories that have come in since yesterday. First, let's talk about subscribing to the app. So if you've been enjoying the paraliminals and using the paraliminals this week, and if you're not a subscriber, then by all means subscribe. Follow your intuition. It's just over 25 cents a day, which is pretty much the same as a homebrewed cup of coffee. So it's really cheap, and you know how good that you feel when you listen to the paraliminals. And there's a link in the reminder email today, so you can get yourself an early holiday present and keep on listening as the days go on. So Paul, let's read stories, and how about if you start?
Absolutely. I've got them printed here. It was a little weird, Pete. I have three Angelas in a row, so
And those actually came in one right after another, which I thought was cool.
that is cool. So the angels are speaking here. Angela wrote, I've had a breakthrough experience this morning. On awakening, I often feel a deep ache in my neck, shoulders, and kidneys. I decided to try the 5 elements healing paraliminal. When I finished, the ache was literally gone. I'm going to make this one a daily listen. And then, wow, I listened to Law of Attraction with Jack Canfield and set my intention for physical health aligned with a high vibrational soul. And it felt so amazing. This is really cool. We'll talk a little bit more about Jack later on here, but it's really something. When you vibrate at a higher energetic frequency, everything in the world goes better. And then a different Angela wrote, sleeping on 3 hours a day. I've been so exhausted. I tried Sleep Deeply, and I have to say, I didn't sleep the whole night, but I fell asleep fast and got more rest than I had the last couple of weeks. It's really great. So excited for you. And there's a lot more that you can do with sleep, by the way, using paraliminal technology. And then Natalie wrote, I listened to Living the Law of Attraction since it was recommended for the challenge, even though it's one I probably would have skipped before. But after this one, I felt expanded, like everything would work out and I didn't have to control it all. What a relief. And that's the thing. Well, I was mentioning this earlier, the idea that it doesn't feel like you're pushing yourself to success. It feels from this interior landscape of greater expansion that the possibilities and the opportunities are coming to us. So good on you, Natalie.
Yeah, excellent. Beth wrote, today I have so far watched Dr. Paul's financial security coaching, and it was mind-opening in a wonderful way. An anxiety-free session A I've just completed, feeling relaxed. And Tina wrote, I've been studying the law of attraction for a while now, but I always felt like something wasn't quite clicking. So I could elevate my vibration briefly, but once something I didn't like crossed my path, it would revert back to the negative thinking and limiting beliefs. I listened to the Living the Law of Attraction Paraliminal and felt an immediate sense of relief and ease. The rest of the day seemed to flow more easily, and I didn't feel the same powerful pull toward negativity and irritation. I don't think I've felt this calm for a long time. This is very exciting for me because I know it can help keep my vibration high, and I can attract more high vibrational people into my life and places and things rather than just continually attracting what I don't want.
You know, this is a big, big transformational shift, Pete. When somebody is able to do this, what's happening is instead of looking at the world through a lens of who's going to hurt me and you're to blame for my feeling miserable, you start looking at that lens and you start having a choice. You get to say, well, whatever happens today, I'm going to roll with. I'm not going to blame the outside world for me. I'm going to stay focused on the solutions I want and work to get what I'm choosing to create in my life. And that is a game changer, a simple shift, but it's a transformational one.
Yeah. Karina wrote, this morning I listened to Finding Yourself. I didn't know what to expect and was surprised. I know some of the things that hold me back, and my mind can choose to forget them, but this paraliminal brought it all back into focus in one snapshot and how it has not served me over the decades. Eye-opening. This afternoon, I listened to Living the Law of Attraction. Unknowingly, this paired perfectly with Finding Yourself. All the feel-good emotions rolled into one, emanating it all out past our aura to affect everything and everywhere and everyone in our field.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the idea that we are an energetic being and we're interacting with an energetic universe. And when you raise that energy field, you attract more of that. And so that's a great comment.
Yeah. And, you know,
What?
another thing too is that she recognized how the paraliminals are so related to each other. Even though there's different intentions and different ways of going about it, they all work together. You don't have to worry about anything ever at cross purposes with another.
Yeah, and the idea that we can actually amplify the benefits of one by pairing it with one or two or three others. And that's why we'll often suggest groups of paraliminals that you might listen to one this day, a different one tomorrow, and so on. And that will help keep you in the progress towards what it is you're choosing to
Yeah, and
create.
that's in the library on the app on the homepage. Go to the bottom and you'll push the library button. The other thing that you can do is that you can put in on the search feature, you can put in something that you're looking for. Let's say go back to grief. And then what it will do is it'll list the paraliminals that relate to grief. So those are ones that you can listen together in a group.
Excellent. So I've got a few here, Pete.
Yep.
Harada wrote, I enjoy listening to a variety of paraliminals during the week. I listen at least once a day in the morning or in the evening. On days when I have a tight schedule, I gravitate to the 10-minute supercharger to start my morning. Yay. I felt energized and charged for the day. I also enjoy the podcasts of different individuals Dr. Paul Scheele interviewed. I would not be exposed to them otherwise. I enjoyed listening and learning from each one tremendously. You know, Pete, I've been getting a lot of really positive comments about it, about the podcast. So if you haven't tuned into those, please do. The people I'm bringing in are great. And the new ones that I've just recently done, really exciting.
Oh, really? Good, good. So,
Yep.
you know, one other thing too is that remember each of the podcasts has two parts. Part A, where Paul's talking with the guest, and part B, Paul has said goodbye to the guest, and then he's telling you which paraliminals you can use to support what the guest was saying. And so that's a huge resource. I love that.
Now, I want to ask you, Pete, if somebody who's on the MINDTRX app listens to one of these and wants somebody else that they know to listen to it, can they find the podcast elsewhere? I know the paraliminal part won't be elsewhere.
Well, yeah, you can find the podcast anywhere podcasts are available, and the paraliminal part is part of that. Originally, we decided not to do that, but then we changed our minds, and so it's there. But the other thing too, even if somebody's not a subscriber to MINDTRX, the podcasts are always there and they're always free to listen to, which means somebody can come into the app and just go to the podcast right there all the time.
When were you going to tell me this, Pete?
I know you just don't ever listen to me, Paul.
Michelle wrote, this has been a very meaningful challenge. I have explored depths of my selfhood as yet undiscovered through Intuition Amplifier. I have revitalized my body through perfect health. My higher self was strengthened through deep relaxation, and my financial prosperity furthered through mindset training of soul of money. Thank you so much. I love that. Like each area, and here's why it's shifted. That's a great comment. Thank you, Michelle. David wrote, abundance. So far, so good this week. I'm listening to this paraliminal this week because I have financial needs due to a job loss. I'm looking for jobs while also opening up my consulting business to find different avenues to make a living. And I do want to emphasize this as a really good way to stay in a high vibration on the job hunt when you feel like you may be struggling in other areas or worried and blah, blah, blah. Stay in that high vibration so that when you show up at that job interview, you are at your best. Tamara wrote, I added walkabout to my daily walk routine. It gave me new ideas and motivation. I need to lose 100 pounds and lower my blood pressure. I'm walking my way to happiness. The paraliminals give me happiness and hope. Absolutely. I'm so glad, Pete, that the paraliminal walkabouts are a part of the MINDTRX app, because this is a resource a lot of people don't know about. You put the earbuds in and you start walking, and there's something called fractional motion technology, which connects everything in your body. You get into an ideal zone called the walkabout zone. It's expansive, and as you're in that zone, looking at the whole world around you, moving your body, the messages are making such an impact. You remember that Steve Jobs had meetings on the Apple campus. If you sat down to a meeting with them, you'd immediately get up and go for a walk with them, because walking is such a powerful way of shifting the brain.
So, you know, Paul, you created that with Dr. David Rubenstein, and I heard from him yesterday, and he told me to tell you hi. So, hi.
Oh, thanks. Hi.
Hi, yeah. Okay, so Ia wrote, I've listened to the paraliminal of the day every evening now before sleep, but have always fallen asleep before it's finished. Feels great drifting off to sleep with those soothing words and sounds. Janet wrote, I only joined yesterday, but I feel like I'm in the right place. I need to find clarity of where I'm going, as I have ideas, but I'm not taking action as I don't know where to focus. Now I have choices of paraliminals, and I don't know which one would be best. Paul, comments, advice?
Well, yeah, obviously it's a good idea if you have a goal and you have a focus and direction for the energy of your life. However, if you don't have one, you know you need one, set a goal to have a goal. Use paraliminals to get further insight. So, for example, finding treasure, or for me, the really, really powerful one is self-actualization, because what we're doing is we're transcending the lower needs so that we can get to those higher needs, self-actualization, but even more importantly, Pete, self-transcendence. It's this idea that what we're always striving for is to not be limited by what the world has offered, but bring our great contribution to the world. Powerful way. And also finding yourself might be a really good one, as one of the earlier comments made. It's a good way to review your life and see what is important. How have you been focusing your energy? Is that working for you? Would you like to do it differently? And the beautiful thing is, Pete, we're given free will. So we do have a choice to set the direction of our lives.
Yeah. Rachel said, a friend commented yesterday that there was something different about me that seemed more open and ready to embrace whatever comes. I certainly feel more comfortable in my entire being.
This is a good one, Pete. You know, very often, because the changes are coming from within us and we're looking for a big flash of lightning that the changes occurred, oftentimes we'll hear comments from others like, what are you doing? You seem so calm today, or how come you're so happy? It's unusual to see you that way. And that's really surprising to the person that hears this. Like, really? Well, I don't know that I'm doing anything, until they remember, maybe it was the paraliminal.
Exactly. That's one good reason to be journaling. So as you're listening to paraliminals, journal what you're listening to, the reasons you're listening to it, and then keep looking for anything that indicates that, yes, something is happening as a result of that session.
Good.
So Kind from Paris, France wrote, my main goal is to attract prosperity and to be in the state of calm. I chose to listen to Deep Relaxation, Prosperity, the Soul of Money, and I had some opportunities show up this week that would generate extra income randomly. I also felt relaxed with deep relaxation. Yesterday was hard as I lost a dear friend, and this helped me sleep. Paul, we talked about grief before, so what are the paraliminals for grief?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. Grief is an odd emotional complex that's going through us. And if you look at the stages of grief that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talked about, there may be a paraliminal that would work for each one of those stages. Like you're angry at that person for dying and you want to deny that the person died. And, there's just a number of different psychological issues that we go through. The other thing to understand about grief is that it's going to have its way. So roll with it, welcome it. And that's where I think the triple welcoming process that Hale Dwoskin and I did together called letting go, super potent. It's like, oh, I'm feeling a wave of grief. Could I just welcome it? And could I let it go? And just be present to the emotions that are there. And finally, I would say that there's two paraliminals that I think would be super profound. One is gratitude. So we focus on the great fullness of the relationship that we had with that loved one. What was it that was in that relationship? If we were to speak about the legacy of that relationship at a memorial service, what would we say? And just focus on the gratitude that you have for that person's experience with you in this life. And the other one is joy. You know, joy is an emotion, as we talk about in the 5 elements. It's an emotion of the heart. And so it's the place of our passion. It's the place of our connection to others. The joy paraliminal could be very, very good. And on that same vein, I would say, let's do the 5 element healing. Because if anger is there, it deals with the liver, we want to go to happiness. If we have sadness or depression, you know, we want to work with those various organ systems within our body. And the 5 element healing would be spot on for that.
Yeah. And you know, the 5 element healing brings you through the 5 positive emotions, happiness, joy, peace, contentment, and gratitude. And all of those are so good for healing and for grieving.
Mm-hmm.
So Linda said, the Living the Law of Attraction paraliminal is awesome. It helps me relax into the flow of things and trust in the universe.
The universe, that's an important connection that we have. The universe is in us and it's infinite energy, so let's use that abundance. All right, I have a few here. Elena wrote, my goal is to focus my attention as I am juggling many important projects this week, and also to find something that I lost that is dear to me. I use conscious time, 10-minute supercharger, abundant money mindset, and deep relaxation at bedtime. I notice less stress, ability to prioritize better, and while looking for the lost object, I came across money I'd put away a while ago. This surprise came at the perfect time. Yay! Maybe she was listening to Finding Treasure, because that's a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
And when we are looking for a lost object, really good to use the intuition amplifier, because our mind knows where it is, and we can mentally become that object and then look around where we are and describe it. My mom used to always call me to say, hey, honey, could you find this thing that I've lost in the house? And it always worked. Belinda wrote, I've had a challenging last few years and started by looking to see if there was a paraliminal for getting out of despair. Anxiety is acknowledged by quite a few people, but not despair. Then I listened to Pete and Marcy, and I thought that I would try the happy for no reason paraliminal. Not hoping for much, I found myself hearing the odd phrase that made sense or was good to hear. I know we're not meant to focus intently on what was said, but some things just stood out. So I've listened to it a second time. The MINDTRX app has a wealth of paraliminals and extra. I have a question. Why should our hands not be touching? So yeah, let me talk about that, and then also the concept of despair, because when it comes to despair, despair is a lack of hope for the future. And if you listen to many of the more recently released paraliminals, I don't know that people would know which ones they are. Yeah, but the idea is that what we're doing in the what's called track 2, or the induction part of the paraliminal, is we're upregulating the brain. We're moving from that old brain, which is in the freeze mode, to the midbrain, which is in the fight or flight mode, to the new brain, the neocortex, which is in the argument mode. And as we calm and relax and get peace and balance with all of those, we move into a part of our brain which really holds the important power for changing our lives. It's called the prefrontal cortex. So what's going to happen is you recognize that you have a sense of agency, that you can change your state where you are, that there are things you can do right now to make a significant, simple step in the right direction. You begin to turn on that place where hope resides, and that's the prefrontal cortex. So I think that there are a lot of paraliminals that would be able to assist you in getting beyond despair to that place of what I referred to earlier as relentless knowing that the universe has your back and you can do this. Now, in the idea of hands on the lap or hands not touching, the idea is we don't want to cross anything, crossed arms, crossed legs, anything like that. And the reason is that what we're doing is we're firing off neural circuitry that loops our energy, and we want to be in the most open posture for learning. If you look at the ancient images of statues of great saints and sages, they'll hold some kind of posture like this, and these are called mudras. And every one of these has a completely different field of energy that it creates. There are tones that go with each of these. These are ancient understandings of how the human neurophysiology works. So what we want to do is stay open. Don't let any of those looped circuits close you down. Stay open to the learning that can happen for you.
Excellent. And that's probably too why we never see paintings of saints like this.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Now, Wendy from Northfield, Minnesota wrote, I love having so many paraliminal tools that are helping and guiding me along the way to becoming my better, truer, deeper self. Now, I want to really underscore what she's saying is it's who you already are. It's just that now you're allowing that to be expressed. So it's not about making you a better person. It's making you more authentically the better person you already are. Jasmine wrote, before bed, I'd listen to Miracle Mindset. It left me with a feeling of pure potentiality and openness. It's so beautiful. When I did that with JJ Virgin, and I created the script for her, she read it and she just cried. She said, I have never believed that anyone could understand my work so deeply, Paul. You absolutely nailed it. So I'm glad that you heard it, and create miracles every single day.
And what you just said about JJ, that's one of the beautiful things about paraliminals is that we're bringing in all this wisdom, this expertise, and you're making it easy for it to come into us, for us to be able to bring it into and to embody it, to help us do whatever it is that we want to do. So I just think that's wonderful.
Me
You're
too.
not going to see that in other types of programs. So that's one of the reasons that paraliminals are so good and so unique.
Yeah, and the other thing, Pete, is we know so many cool people, so many authors,
I know.
speakers, world transformational leaders. So more good stuff to come.
So that's why this week during the challenge, I'm going, oh, why don't we have a paraliminal with Carl Harvey and with Natalie and with Patty? We had Marcy. And so we have a lot of cool paraliminals coming up from a lot of cool people. So
Yes.
that's on the docket. And, listening to these, you read the stories, and me reading the stories on the Facebook and in the SurveyMonkey has just been so enjoyable this week. I'm going to kind of miss it when the MINDTRX, when the challenge is over, all the different stories, but we appreciate so much that you're willing to share and continue to share between now and forever on those things. The challenge is over today. We won't be having prizes tomorrow. We will yet today, but keep giving messages for us. We very much appreciate that. So, Paul, speaking of prizes, let's get to announcing the winners.
All right.
Two of them today. The first one, let's announce the winner of the 1-year complimentary subscription to MINDTRX.
Yes, and today's winner is Jasmine Green. Congratulations. Yay, the crowd goes wild.
And Paul, she was the one who left that message about JJ Virgin's Miracle Mindset.
Oh, cool.
Incidentally.
Miracle happened.
Exactly. And when we put the all the stories in order today, I put hers last because it was just so beautiful and it kind of brought everything together. And then I did the drawing using a random number generator and poof, there was Jasmine.
Yay.
So Jasmine, here's what you
Congratulations.
want to do. Send an email to customer service at mindtracks.com and then we'll get you set up. That's customer service at mindtracks.com and you'll get yourself a 1-year complimentary subscription to the app. Now we have another winner because when we had Patty Aubrey on with us yesterday, we challenged everybody to listen to Jack's Living the Law of Attraction. And this morning we had a drawing of everyone who commented on listening to Living the Law of Attraction. And Paul, would you please announce the winner of Jack's Effortless Success Personal Learning Course? It's regularly $525, so this is a great prize for somebody.
Well, what was fun about designing the MINDTRX or the Effortless Successes, I got a chance to work really closely with Jack Canfield. And what came out of it is that we revealed 3 dimensions to his use of the law of attraction that he never talked about, even though he is one of the world most famous people to apply that. And so the deep secret of how Jack has created such abundant wealth and so much good in the world is really in that Effortless Success program. So yeah, the winner of today, drumroll, Natalie Bryn Darger.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Natalie. She's going to love it, Paul. So Natalie, as with Jasmine, send an email to customer service at mindtracks.com and we'll get you set up with the course. Now, as we wrap up the conversation today, Paul, how about we remind folks to upgrade to the Ultimate You annual plan. In other words, to subscribe to the app. There's a link in the email we sent you this morning. If you use that link, and if you change your mind, which I'm sure you won't, you'll be able to get a refund within 30 days. So that way you have absolutely nothing to lose, everything to gain. Get into it and keep using it for the month and find out how the changes that you can make. And if you're not making the changes that you like, or you're not happy with everything, or you find you're not using it, you can get a refund. Just let us know before the 30 days. So use the link within the email. If you can download directly from the app stores if you'd like, but you don't get the satisfaction guarantee through the app stores. And so Paul, before we finish up, what else would you like to say to folks who are on the MINDTRX challenge?
Well, the idea is we're coming to the close of this calendar year, and using MINDTRX, you're going to be able to finish it on a strong note, making this the best year ever. And with the MINDTRX in your hip pocket, ready to help you in the coming year, it's going to make next year the best that you've ever lived. So use the techniques that are suggested, tune into the coaching sessions that I give. Wendy Greer, who is on the app with her coaching, is absolutely spectacular. And you're going to be able to find within you the resources that you need and get the support that you need from the MINDTRX app. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
So you mentioned, Paul, finishing up this year. We have a special event coming up in the app the end of December, over the holidays, over the New Year's, with Clear Mind, Bright Future. So we're going to help you set up so that you have the most splendid life possible in 2024 going forward. And so that's going to be coming up the end of December. So get to using your paraliminals. It doesn't matter which one, they're all good. Just pick one and go for it and notice the results in these next couple of days. And remember, the challenge finishes tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Central Time. So if you are not subscribed by then, the paraliminals will lock up. So take a moment now to subscribe and then listen to a paraliminal. So Paul, thank you for joining us. This was really fun. I know this is a labor of love for you, but still, everybody on the MINDTRX team, everybody at Learning Strategies, all of the clients, everybody's participating. We really appreciate what you've been putting into creating the paraliminals. But it's not just that, but it's helping us get the most value from it and how to use it. So we appreciate that so much. So thank you, thank you.
Well, it's an expression of love for sure. It opens my heart. I just love being with you, Pete, and doing this kind of work. Thanks for all that you do. It's immeasurable, the kind of power that you have brought to people's lives by making this possible. And like Jack Canfield would say, when you love what it is you do, success is effortless.
Yeah, and Paul, remember what our friend Bill Erickson has said? He says, I've never worked a day in my life. And the first time that he said that to me, maybe 30, 35 years ago, I go, oh my God, that's the same thing with me. And I can continue to say, I've never worked a day in my life. This has been so much fun working on everything here. So everybody, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day. We're so proud of you for stepping up and being willing to create the amazing life using paraliminals. Bye.
Peace and blessings. Bye for now.